Well, in my view, no single decision can be described as the most important economic decision 2025. To me, it was another year of business as usual, where we were trying to do things. The government was trying to do things which it had to, just to keep the economy stable and to continue the business as usual. The government did not take any extraordinary decisions or unusual decisions which could have addressed the fundamental structural problems of Pakistan's economy. So let's take this year as another year of routine business.
Well, when we look back in year 2025 in Pakistan, there are one or two decisions which were, which had an impact on the macroeconomic side mostly. And at the one side, the decisions basically were to comply with IMF prior actions, which contracted the fiscal space, did not let the interest rate down to the levels of our competitors in South Asia. And also, there was a report done by IMF by the name of Governance and Corruption Report, which exposed number of institutional weaknesses, and the decision to make it public created a lot of debate. But by and large, that decision helped the government to get the tranches, which are, one is extended fund facility, and then the second is the resilience trust money, which is for the climate change. That was at the macro level, I think, a major decision that government complied, and the program went on, and because of that, government's overall macroeconomic stability improved. Reserves are almost now covering 3 to 4 months of import bill and external payments. Also, interest rate slightly down, but still a little higher, but still significantly down as compared to 2024 at 10.5% this year. Inflation stabilizing somewhere between 6% to 7%. So these are the things which government can take credit, and the lenders' trust improved in Pakistan. In terms of the price paid, obviously, industrial expansion has not happened. Credit has not expanded to where the most productive users are. Economic growth remains subdued, and in the tune of 2.5%, and unemployment and poverty and human development suffered as a result of monetary tightening and lack of supporting policies. Second, I would also mention one decision that government finally did manage to break the ice by privatizing PIA. Now that was a lot of speculation, because the first attempt failed, but the second attempt appears to have gone smoothly, and a consortium of local buyers have managed to acquire majority stake of Pakistan International Airlines, and that was one of the three largest state-owned enterprises which were taking, their losses were huge. Other two are Pakistan Railways and Pakistan Steel, and so privatization of PIA gives a signal to the people that government is serious about getting out of the state-owned enterprises. So by and large, these two decisions in 2025 I rate as significant in terms of some of the economic management in Pakistan.
2025 was more of the same. It was more macroeconomic stabilization. When we first went under the IMF program, there was this understanding that things are going to get tough and then things are going to get better. So by 2025, companies across the board, people across the board were expecting things to get better. But interest rates are still high, tax rates are still high, things are not getting better. People are fatigued, people are tired, their standards of living are not improving, and for that they want to leave Pakistan. And I think that is not being taken account that is not being accounted for by the powers that be, that you can have all these difficult measures because you are under the IMF program, but you need to take care of the man on the street as well.
I think the most important economic decision in 2025 was maintaining tax rates at ridiculously high levels, and basically anyone and everyone paid the price for it, whether it's a consumer, whether it's a manufacturer, whether it's a company, and that led to complete stagnation of the economy and rising unemployment, which we never track anyway.
The economic stabilization continued for the second year as well. Whether it was a crisis management or the real stabilization, the simple answer is that the stabilization is the result of the crisis management. The things which can ensure that Pakistan's economy has stabilized and it is out of crisis. This requires some fundamental changes in Pakistan's economic structures, some deep-rooted reforms. So those reforms have not been initiated in the year 2025.
Well, we need to understand what macroeconomic stabilization mean, because time and again people mix it with economic growth. So macroeconomic stabilization under an IMF program actually means that your monetary policy side and your fiscal side is stabilized, meaning that your budget deficit gets under control and you have enough reserves to pay your bills for 3 to 4 months. Other indicators on public financial management are basically linked to how the public finances are managed and spent. Macroeconomic stabilization Pakistan has achieved to a certain level, and it has happened in the past as well under the IMF program. Having said that, that does not mean that economy has stabilized or economy is moving towards sustainable growth. Now that is the challenge, because lots of people, and once again, in my opinion, Pakistan has not really kept the pace of cutting edge policy making so that the real economic revival starts. And that means that indicators like your export goes up, export to GDP, your investment to GDP, debt to GDP goes down, and productivity goes up. Now on that side, Pakistan has not managed to actually show any significant improvement. In fact, it is at an average on the declining path. That is a worrisome thing, because a lot of things are being talked about because of the fiscal gaps, that provinces should revise the National Finance Commission formula and pay more to the federation. In my opinion, federation should have cut down its size. It should have cut down their perks and privileges and create a space for development financing. Currently, Pakistan is a debt-stressed country, which almost half of Pakistan's budget goes in debt payments. Now, after that, the kitty doesn't have much cushion to deal with challenges like security, challenges like the economic growth and investment in productive sectors, because public investment productively done attracts private capital. So Pakistan's, again, policymakers, they kept on focusing on infrastructure, the roads and bridges, rather than creating that space which is essential to revive the economic growth, and also policies to change the composition of economic structure, because the current structure of economy is not good enough to cater the needs of almost over 240 million people. And because of that, Pakistan has become net importer of essential goods. And that gap, there are two gaps. One is the debt gap, and one is the gap of import and export. And these external imbalances keeps on pushing Pakistan to IMF again and again and again. And that cycle does not seem to be breaking in 2025 as well.
So, continued stabilization. I think it was still more of the crisis management. This crisis that we are in, it was decades in the making. So yes, obviously it cannot get better overnight. But the structural reforms that did take place, like PIAs, privatization, those are exceptions rather than the rule. We need not ad hoc measures, we need more cohesive measures, export policy, industrial policy, tax reforms across the board. Right now, the three main groups, real estate, agriculture, and retailers, they are still as under tax as they were 2 years back, 3 years back. The tax burden is still very much by the formal sector. The informal sector is very much growing. Digitization is not taking pace, not speeding up as fast as it should. So it's just more of the same. More crisis management rather than real macroeconomic changes that would lead to long-term results.
25 did mark stabilization for Pakistan. I don't know whether it's real or not. Stabilization for 1 year does not mean stabilization for the next few either. So we need to maintain some fiscal discipline. We need to ensure that the right policies are in place to ensure fiscal discipline and to reduce the overall fiscal deficits such that our borrowing requirements decrease and our overall interest rates can increase as well, and we can eventually stimulate the economy. In absence of any such fiscal discipline, we will lose this short-lived stabilization very soon.
Pakistan's economy is not able to create enough jobs, and that is a pressure on the government. If the government tries to achieve higher economic growth rate without fixing the economic fundamentals, then the balance of payment crisis may erupt. That's a serious risk that could undermine the economic stability that the government had achieved over the past couple of years. And the second risk is that if the government tries to go after higher economic growth rate and take certain measures which are beyond the understanding which was reached with the IMF, then there is also a problem that the IMF program can also come at some kind of under pressure.
At the moment, if I look at the risk profile globally, there's a global investment risk which has gone up because of conflict in Palestine and Middle East, conflict in Ukraine, and the erratic, economic decisions of President of United States of America. Multilateralism has been threatened. Bilateral and unilateral decisions are being taken. So the overall situation of global market is actually the risks of all kind have gone up. Now, having said that, looking at Pakistan as a region, before I come to very specific risks, we also keep in mind that the global economy, barring a few, countries like China or maybe India, global economy hasn't really recovered from the post-COVID economic shock. EU market is slow, US has remained slow, Japan remains slow. So these are Pakistan's traditional markets. So what has happened is that competition in terms of trade and investment incentives, Pakistan's competitors have moved up and really, made the pitch to attract more investment. So first risk is that Pakistan's perceived and real investment risk has gone up. As a result, we have seen the all-time low investment to GDP ratio in Pakistan, which fell below 13% in 2025. Now, Pakistan has not managed to address it because of the capability gaps in bureaucracy and, politics, and still going the old school way of managing it, trying to, reach out on geopolitical grounds to friendly countries. At the end of the day, if Pakistani market participants are not investing, the international investors will not come, and that is a realization Pakistan, sooner the policymakers do, the better it is. So the first risk is a declining investment to GDP risk because of Pakistan's risk perception going up, because of security situation on the western borders, internal lack of policy, and also the global slowdown. Second risk I see is that too much emphasis on macroeconomic stabilization under IMF and not much focus on poverty reduction, not much focus on human development, not much focused policies, how to, align the youth which is coming into labor market. Every year almost 3 million boys and girls come into labor market, creating opportunities. Some, emphasis on cash transfers, populist schemes. So I see a risk of a human-centric policy gap in Pakistan. Because a country like Pakistan, where 70% population is young, below the age of 30, where unemployment is more than 7%, where poverty is 44%, and where marginalized segments, their consumption powers and wages have eroded because of inflationary pressures and continued slowdown in GDP. So there is a risk of social development, a civil harmonization in Pakistan, which is another risk. Third risk is that because of Pakistan entered into a conflict with its neighboring country on the western border, and that conflict has given signals to investors that unless and until some harmonizing or responsible neighborhood is not evolved in this region, why should we take longer term risks? And Pakistan saw number of multinational companies packing up and leaving because of a variety of reasons, and this being one of those. Political fragmentation remains another risk because policy making remains consensus, be it National Finance Commission, be it taxation, be it industrial policy, because it's a devolved subject. So I think because of the intensity of politics and different parties ruling different provinces in their own ways, and very little cohesion and communication, has led to another risk that people's trust in the state of Pakistan as a smooth and sustainable and overall stabilized state hasn't really gone up. Now these are the challenges which are going to continue in 2026, and let's hope some space is created for institutional fragmentation and political fragmentation, the gap to be bridged. Also, space needs to be created because of cutthroat global competition to bring in world-class professionals and giving them delegated authority basically to deal with it. Otherwise, pressure on Pakistan and Pakistan's investment and Pakistan's growth and Pakistan's rupee dollar parity is likely to persist in 2026. Politically, I think there's a major risk that people this consumption power has eroded despite inflation going down. At this point in time, people are finding it very hard to make ends meet, particularly the fixed income salaried class. So these are some of the challenges for Pakistan, but I would in the end also give an opportunity that in terms of diplomacy and strategic side, Pakistan has done well. A number of countries now look at Pakistan as a more resilient and stronger country. Now, I will leave the question that oil prices are down, macroeconomic stability is there, you have diplomatic relations with now more countries, including the United States. Can Pakistan leverage on this sentiment with cutting-edge policies to revive and move towards a sustainable growth, which can eventually make the foundation of Pakistan to join the emerging Asia?
One of the things I do not understand is how are floods still taking us by surprise. When you look at the budget, it's more, and when you look at the measures being taken place, it's more mitigation. Solar and EVs is mitigation, it's not adaptation. So even if you look in Karachi, what changes have taken place to avoid floods in the next few years? Authorities say that the next few years, the next 2026 is going to be 26%, 28% better. So what changes have you ensured that the nalas are clean, that the storm drains are clean? Have you ensured that the most flood prone rural areas, are they protected? Have the people who have been affected by the floods this year and the previous year, have they been accounted for? How many houses have they been made? How much support has been given to them before we have the next level floods? So I think there's a lot of conversation around climate change, but not enough reforms to adapt to climate change. Yes, we are one of the most vulnerable countries in the world. Yes, we are not the ones who are causing the problem. We are not the ones polluting. Then why are we the ones taking the most mitigation measures rather than most adaptation measures? So I think that the one risk that is being underestimated is that there could be floods, worse floods in 2026 and years ahead, and the lower income groups, the agricultural sector, the farm sector, that is the one that is going to be hurt the most, and not enough is being done to protect them. And I think that is a risk that is being underestimated.
Essentially, lack of growth. Consumption makes up more than 100% of our GDP. No one really even talks about that we just basically consume and produce nothing, and literally there is absolutely no policy whatsoever which can target this problem, reduce consumption and increase investment across the board. That has an economic risk that has been essentially over our head over the last decade at this point, when consumption was maybe around 85% of GDP, now it's more than 100%. This needs to be brought down as soon as possible, and without any tactical intervention, it's only going to get worse, and this is one of the bigger economic risks out there.